Penguin Random House Audio presents Lolita in the Afterlife, on beauty, risk, and reckoning with the most indelible and shocking novel of the 20th century, edited by Jenny Minton Quigley. Read for you by Rebecca Lowman, Marisol Ramirez, Vikas Adam, Paul Bellantoni, and the following contributing authors: Emily Mortimer, Roxanne Gay, Laura Lippman, Andre Debus III, Sarah Weinman, Jim Shepard, Bindu Bansinath, Sloane Crosley, Cheryl Strayed, Tom Bissell, Jill Cargman, Jessica Shattuck, Kate Elizabeth Russell, Zainab Salbi, and Danny Shapiro. Dedicated to Marion Minton and the memory of Walter J. Minton.
Lolita is a disgusting book. Furthermore, the day will never come when it is not a disgusting book. Stephen Metcalf, Critic at Large in Slate, 2005. Lolita is a perfect novel. Deborah Treisman, fiction editor for The New Yorker on NPR, 2005. Lolita is one of the most beautiful love stories you'll ever read. It may be one of the only love stories you'll ever read. Brett Anthony Johnston, novelist, on NPR's All Things Considered, 2006. Lolita is a problematic book. Laura Lippman, crime novelist, in The Independent, 2014. At the time that Lolita was published, there were mixed reviews, but it was widely viewed as a tragedy of a man tormented by lust. Today, it's read through the lens of pedophilia. Concepcion de Leon, The New York Times, 2018. Nabokov's job in the book is to make you like the monstrous Humbert Humbert. In the 1960s, readers were too swinging to see how evil he was, and now readers are too prudish to see how charming he can be. Edmund White, The New York Times Book Review, 2020.
Introduction. I'd guess most people remember reading Lolita for the first time. I do. Freshman fall in college. It was 1989, and I had just turned 18. I curled up under my Laura Ashley knockoff floral comforter and cracked Lolita open for Professor Jim Shepard's English 101 class. The story moved swiftly. It was electrifying. I could not put it down. I did not question that it was Lolita who seduced Humbert first. I believed that Humbert loved her. I somehow did not catch most of her tears. Dare I admit, Lolita pinged me with romantic longing. Professor Shepard was young, mustached, and uproariously funny. His recitation in class of Humbert's lines in cartoonish voices made us belly laugh at the outrageousness of this loser's confessions, many of which we had missed in our own readings. And in this way, the scariness of what H.H. was confessing to lost some of its power. Shepard played Humbert like Groucho Marx might do Dracula. In an exaggerated voice, he deftly dropped in the games Humbert was playing as narrator and illuminated both his shocking self-exoneration and, in a much quieter voice, nearly a whisper that Shepard used far less often, the devastating moments of self-indictment. I don't remember thinking of Lolita as being much younger than I was. I didn't imagine her, as she actually is in the novel, a child of 12. But more like a willful 16, more like me. One day after class I stayed behind. I told Professor Shepard, "My dad published Lolita." The classroom now empty, his costume off, the show over. Professor Shepard reacted with quiet surprise. In a strange way, it felt almost like I was confessing. My father, Walter Minton, published the first American edition of Lolita in August 1958 when he was the brashly successful president of G.P. Putnam's Sons. Vladimir Nabokov had already published a few books in America, but they had failed to attract readers. Nabokov completed the novel in 1954, but he could not find an American publisher willing to take it on until Walter Minton found him in 1957. At this point, 5 American publishers had rejected the novel, Pascal Covici of Viking Press claiming, "We would all go to jail if the thing were published." And he wasn't joking, not really. The McCarthy era was winding down, and lots of publishers and writers had been recently prosecuted. Publishing Lolita was a radical act then. I think it would be today, too. Until that day in class with Professor Shepard, I had never mentioned my father's history with Vladimir Nabokov to anyone. Part of the reason was typical teenage self-absorption. I believed my teachers and professors were the literary experts, and not my old, retired father many miles away. It's possible a part of me already knew I'd follow my father into book publishing one day, and that I would need my own literary compass to succeed. Not his, no matter how much I loved and admired him. But how to find such a thing? The question was akin to asking, but how to grow up? Ignoring the tower of my father and Nabokov was the far easier path for many years, even though I was raised in the house Lolita built. Rereading Lolita at the age of 46 in 2018 as a mother of 3 teenagers was just as indelible an experience as it was for me 30 years ago in my college dorm room. But for very different reasons, of course. In midlife, I read Lolita with discomfort and disbelief tinged with sadness, with shock. I read it more like Catherine White of The New Yorker, who wrote in her rejection letter of Lolita circa 1955, "I don't suppose anyone like me, with 5 potential nymphettes in the family, would not find the book uncomfortable." It made me nervous that Nabokov's poetic writing is so erotically charged. Lolita's utterly contemporary dialogue, her gum-chewing, knee-bouncing boredom surprised and impressed me. And Humbert's obvious broad-daylight confessions further unsettled me. How did I miss every single one of those at 18? I could not believe I still had to look up words on every page. As a writer and former book editor, I knew that if the manuscript landed in my inbox on submission, I would whip through it feverishly. Would I wonder that her voice is missing? Would I have the guts to champion it for publication in the halls of a major publishing house now, in the Me Too movement? What about on Twitter, of which I was and am terrified? My sons were not so far off from starting their own first years of college. How would they read Lolita? Questions about Lolita seemed more urgent than ever as I surveyed the current personal, political, and literary landscapes in 2018, a testament to Nabokov's enduring, unsettling genius. I was hardly alone in this feeling. A film adaptation of Penelope Fitzgerald's novel The Bookshop, about a bookseller daring to sell Lolita in England during the countrywide ban, had recently been released. André Dubus III, in a By the Book column in the New York Times Book Review, described himself as still reeling from his first reading of Lolita, having cut me in two, and I'm still trying to sew myself back together. And then Caitlin Flanagan in The Atlantic sparked an idea in my mind when she wrote, "Let us now reread the old texts, examining them with a cold eye."
Sample complete. Ready to continue?